As someone who has come on here and publicly talked about my struggles with life in general, I have watched quite a bit of motivational videos, quite a bit of self help videos because I like to see what others have done when they're also in a similar position that I've felt like I've been in, haven't felt confident, I've felt like a loser. I just been in these low points. And one thing that I hear that, if I'm being honest, just really pisses me off is that they tell people to find God. Now, I'm not a particularly religious person, and maybe that's why this pisses me off so much. But I feel like when you tell someone who is at their lowest point to find God, it's a very empty statement because oftentimes when I'm listening to these content creators who say find God or you need to put God in your life, it comes off as an empty statement because it's never really defined what that means to find God. Now, if they came out and said you need to find God by reading the Bible, going to church, being religious, I wouldn't, I would accept that. At least that's an answer. But telling someone to find God, what does that mean? And to me, if I had to define it, it doesn't mean anything to find God because I would argue that a lot of people have found God. A lot of people probably are religious and have God in their life already. And you only hear people thanking God when they're at their most successful, when they are happy in their lives. And I personally don't think that's a problem. But I think when you're in a lower point in your life and you're telling people to find God, it really does come off as hollow. And as someone who isn't religious, I just feel like that's just a cop-out answer. I would rather hear generic advice than for someone to tell me that I need to find God. Because it really does come off as like, well, you haven't put God in your life. That's why you're at this low point in your life. And I feel like that's just extremely disrespectful to that person because even if we aren't religious, even if we choose not to find God, we don't deserve to struggle. And I feel like a lot of people who say to find God probably aren't saying that with any smugness that you didn't find God. That's why you're struggling or you're in this low point. But it really does come off as disrespectful, especially if you're not someone who is religious like I am. And I just wish that when they tell people to find God or when they say that someone needs to find God, they would just be direct and honest and say, hey, you need to go to church. You need to read the Bible. Because if they said those things, that is a much honest answer in saying, hey, you don't have religion in your life. That's why this, and this is happening to you. Versus just saying, find God and expecting someone to come and to hear you, I guess, whatever God means to you. To me, when I hear that, I think, oh, there's like a person or a being who's going to come down and speak to me. But, and that's what I wanted to say today. I know this video is a little bit different from the ones I've been putting out, but it's been bothering me. It's just been on my mind. But hey, until next time.